It's a combined anthology of the old tradition through the 2,000 years of iconography. And a few words about myself and how I became an iconographer. I was born in Soviet Union, not saying Russia because that time there was a Soviet Union country, which is a atheistic and non-believer as an agenda completely. So I was not born in a Christian family, unfortunately. You will probably be lucky to have that tradition from the childhood, some of you, which is great, but I'm not. But I always love the history, and even Soviet Union was an atheistic country since 1917 after revolution. There was a lot of churches that still remain. Churches and icons in museum, because they look at that just as an art or the history, architecture, but it was very much impressed me. So from the early years, I really loved it. I loved to go to the church, and I really loved the pictures, paintings on the wall. I remember when I was young, very young, it was in Lithuania. I remember I probably was like 6-year-old, and there was an angels painted on the wall, and the choir was in the choir loft, not on the ground floor, but the choir loft, so I can see them. But I really thought that's the angels who are painted on the wall are singing, because I not see the choir, so I really thought at the 6-year-old. And it was such a mystical feeling which I kept through my life. So when I grow, I start more involved in the art, learning art, start study art through the studio in some art studios, and then always still keep that love for iconography. And when at the age of like teenagers, maybe 14, 15, early like 13 maybe years old, I start collecting icons. Collecting as first, not as a religious object for the prayer, but as a like treasure of art, and I start feel something toward that. So I put the icons, and it was not a prints, it's not the pictures, it was like real old icons painted in the wood. So I'll try to buy them everywhere I can, and that was not really expensive. It was not like, maybe there was not so expensive a treasure, but it was 19th century, 20th century, but it was real old Russian icons with the Christ, the Atokas, and the saints. So I put them in a little bedroom on the wall when I slept. I even, like in the age of 14, put a little lampada with the light, because I thought lampada would be nice just as a part of my artistic feelings. And I started having like a really strange feeling. I start feeling as a presence. I start feeling like if I think or do something bad, I'm offending the images. And I start behaving something like with the presence in my room. So I think it was kind of even like a fear of God, like in the early beginning of my feelings. So when I became older, at the age of 17, I came to the Christianity. I started reading books, and I have few friends who already been part of the church. So when I was baptized secretly, because I can't officially baptize, it was during the Sunday liturgy at the church, so nobody can see in a little room during the service. The priest, who was actually taking quite a serious fear to do that, because if somebody tell what he's doing that without the records, without that, he probably have a trouble from superiors. And when I baptized in the church, I was completely get that my early teenage feelings fulfillment. I start feeling with the icons is not only historical or artistic treasure, but a spiritual treasure. So it's really moved me to choose my profession, what I'm doing now. So I can say what I'm starting painting icons like when I probably was 16. Like my first ones started learning. And definitely there was no schools of iconography officially. It was a schools for restoration, but not for iconography. So again, I did it secretly from my older friend who was restorer, and he teach me not only restore icons but paint icons. And after I get to the college and I studied architecture, it's very much again involved to the architecture interiors of the church. So that was my only, I must say, profession, like from the 16 years old. I've been keep doing that full time since now, completely, and I never did anything else. Now I'm here, 65, and I'm doing it since 15, so it's 50, half a century. And it's a little bit about myself. So what about iconography? Again, I'm back to the idea when people ask me about what style are you doing, what style of iconography, what kind of school is this? And saying this is a contemporary school, contemporary iconography, but based on tradition. And some people who learn history of art in the college or in the school, they can really recognize some images where they came from because it's very famous. Some of the images of Christ Pantocrator or evangelists or the feasts, we using a lot of prototypes, which is now easy to find on internet, definitely, like Google search, and they give you so many, but in the time when I started, there was no Google search, but there was a lot of books, so it was hard searching for these books and keeping the library, so each time, before each project, you're really going through that library and choosing the pictures which you copy, you're doing sketch from that sort of like we inheritage of the previous past tradition. So what else we can talk about? I really prefer if you ask me questions, so maybe it'd be easier. Is it? Okay, so does anyone have questions? Yes?
In the icon of Mary, it says MP. Where is it?
Okay.
What does it mean?
Okay. No, it's not MP, it's MR, because this is the Greek letters, which is a Mater Theo God. It's mean Mother of God. And we do have traditionally, some icons in most of the inscriptions, for example, here you have in Greek and in English. But some, like initials, like symbols, are inherited from very, very early time, like almost 2,000 years, like Jesus Christos, Jesus Christ, or Mater Theo. Again, as you see, this is a Greek letters. Yes, you see, it's M-R. It's English P, but the Greek or Russian or Slavic, it's R. Mater, mother. Yes, it's abbreviation, sort of symbol of the title of the Theotokos. Is there any more questions we have?
Are y'all only doing this part of the icons, or are you finishing out all the white?
The iconostasis, you see, this is not ours. That was done, I think, in Lebanon or somewhere and brought here. We're doing what you see in the walls, the type of fresco, the wall paintings, murals, and we're planning to finish the whole church. I mean, it takes time. It's not quick because what you see now is definitely, we're here second week, like 2 weeks, right? And that's not we did in 2 weeks. We work more than 6 months, like half a year in my studio because that is a canvas. It's a piece of canvas which we do on a wall, pre-measure everything according to the blueprints, and we're installing. So here what we're doing, it's a background, trees, you see the ascension on top. So the trees, mountains, it's painted directly on the wall. Ornamentations, or you not see it well now because it's blocked by the scaffolding, but we're hoping Friday the scaffolding going to be down, and for the next service, for next Sunday, you can see everything. So you see the community of apostles. So what is in the background? The little houses, like little palaces there. It's painted on the wall. And by the way, it's interesting about talking about that because, you know, in iconography, it's a lot of things are very symbolic. Okay? And again, we're keeping that tradition, symbolism, from the ancient time. So for our contemporary society, we lost the meaning of that. For the ancient people, it was very much understood. Just little example I'll give you. You see the little tower over there and the wall on the corner. You see the little napkin, sort of like material laying on the roof. You see, you know, it's not just decoration and it's not ornamentation. For the ancient people, that's mean everything what's happening is inside of the building. So that's just a little sample of, you know, the understanding of a tradition, yes. So ancient people understood that. But now we're still keeping that. We can explain. There is a lot of learn about that. Actually, I suggest you, if you, in your interest, read about it. There's a lot of books in English right now with a very simple and not simple too, explanations. One of the best book, I think, published in English, it's by Uspensky, who was a Russian scientist and iconologist. Iconologist is the person who learning icons and about the icons. It's The Meaning of the Icon. That book published in English with illustrations. Just for you to know. Is there any more questions? Yes. The Meaning of the Icon. I'm not sure if you have it in a bookstore, but it's quite famous book. You can easily find it in the internet. Mm-hmm. Oh, okay.
How do you decide what symbols to use?
Oh, good question. We not really decide what is the images to use because again we very much following the tradition, and tradition being developed from the early centuries of Christianity and more or less probably been already formed, have the structure and like a canon. Canon is like a tradition, like a law, which to follow by the 5th century. So the 6th century. So since that time, most of the Christian churches are painted the same way, the same subjects, the same pictures on the same, in certain places. Usually above, we have a Christ Pantocrator. It's also symbolic ascension, but here it's ascension as a part of illustration from the gospel. Remember when the Christ ascended with the 2 angels? And that you can see here. But here it's also, but it's much more symbolic. It's a Christ looking down from us, from heaven, and always being with us. You know, with this, and also the image of the Theotokos over there. It's not just an icon of Mother God. No. It's more than that. It's a symbol of the Christ become part of the world. He's eternally born. It's meaning of what they call in Greek platitera, the image of the Theotokos and the position of the sign, open hands. And so we follow the tradition. We're not choosing where we're just following as is. It's been always.
So this one, maybe you won't be able, well, maybe you will be able to answer. Maybe it's just tradition, but why is Mary depicted inside of the altar?
Inside the altar? That's what I just mentioned, but because she is tremendous, like very, very important for the Christianity, because through her, the God became flesh. She was, you know, like importance of veneration of Mother of God, it's through the churches. You see how many icons of the Theotokos in there? Yes.
So I know in the Catholic tradition, Mary is usually depicted in wearing blue, and I see on the icon she's wearing red. Why is that?
Okay, wearing blue. Yes, the blue color for Theotokos is very traditional, and actually, when we see in the services like the Mission or Nativity of Theotokos, or even Annunciation, the clergy are wearing blue vestments. They're serving in the blue vestments because the blue color is associated with Theotokos. But in Orthodox tradition, usually she wears sort of, it's not really red. Red is a little unusual, but sort of like brownish, like brown, like as you see we have over there painted, sort of brownish with the blue highlights. And it's very interesting because the colors we're using, we sort of imitating, not only imitating, but following the tradition of the natural pigments which the ancient artists, iconographers used. And in those times, there was no chemicals. So the colors itself, they use from the nature. And some of the colors are earthly colors, like yellow or like reddish. It's clay. It's like from the ground. But some of the colors are made from the natural minerals or semi-precious stones, grounded to the very, very fine powder and mix it with some medium. So for the Theotokos, traditionally use the stone called gimatit. Gimatitis? Sometimes they sell it now in some jewelry stores or some minerals, and it's really gray, almost like metal look stone, heavy and metal look gray. But it's interesting what's happening when you start grounding it and make it more and more fine, more powder, it's start reddish, and as more grounding it's become more and more red because of the chemical reaction with the oxygen in the air. Yes, and he's even giving like a blue highlight. So that's Gematitis. We now painting with now contemporary paints, definitely, but trying to imitate all of the colors. The same like red. Red, it's a cinnabar. It's really like a chemical. It's made out of like a mercury, and it's giving you like very strong red. Or blue. You're probably seeing that again in many stores like lapis lazuli. It's a blue stone. They're very often using it for jewelry. And when you're grounding it, it's giving you like really nice, perfect blue, which we're also imitating with our paint. Is there any more questions? Yes?
Can you change something if it's wrong?
Change? First of all, we'll try not to make errors. We'll try avoid it as much as we can. But if it's happened, we just paint it over. We fix it. We cover, and we're painting. We have like few drops, like from the higher floor of the scaffold to the lower. We just do little restoration, like little, with a small brush.
So in the dome, there are the pictures of the prophets from the Old Testament. How are the passages chosen that each of them are holding? Like, how are those decisions made for those passages?
Okay, and again, I'm turning back to the tradition because most of the passages, the scrolls they're having, we know it at least from the 10th century. So they've been chosen either from the services because in during the Christian services, we still have a lot of readings and quotes from the prophets. And some services, especially like the Passion Week before the Easter or before Nativity, there is a lot of reading from the prophets. So most of the quotes they have in a scroll, it's from the service book, what is attributing to them. Okay.
So, are you gonna like rework some of the colors, like a bit of faded colors in the altar? You're gonna make like the colors of the icons much brighter, in the altar, in the blue up there. Is that gonna be brighter too?
Not exactly, because you see you notice it, but the colors over there not as bright as the icons, because we can't. If we'll do it really, really bright, it's going to be too heavy, because when it's a large iconostasis, that's fine. It's by itself with the gold background and very vibrant, strong colors. In the walls, actually, that is for me is already too bright. I'll try to make it even more pastel, more mellow, because it's giving you air, it's giving you full of space. Imagine if we have like bright colors there, it's going to be depressing of the people, like too much, too strong.
Why are icons used instead of statues?
It's an interesting question, because, we notice that, like in the Western Church, like in the Catholic Church, they have a lot of statues sculptured instead of icons. Why we're not using them? First of all, we do using them. And there is a lot of, not really sculptures, but bas-reliefs. It's like half sculptured on the wall. Why are we using it in a flat, more as a three-dimensional? Because it's sort of, again, as I mentioned earlier, it's sanctifying the image. So the two-dimensional, as we're painting it, it's more giving you up more air, less flesh. So it is flesh, it's a painted, but semi, like it's not that heavy. So the statue itself looked too much like a real person carved out of the wood or stone or marble. So the icons or the frescoes it's more flat, and it's giving you more non-fleshy, more sanctified way of looking at that. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'll bring it to you next. No? Okay. Yes. It is. First of all, we'd like to, when we do something, we reading about it, and especially if, like saint, if I don't know the saint, a contemporary saint or Western saint, and about the feast or other images. Basically, we're doing it for so many times, and like all life, we knew about that. But definitely, you need to do it with the respect and with the fear. So it's sort of not. Maybe some iconographers reading the Chaparian or something prayer for that. I can't say it about myself, but again, it's the most important thing. You really need to believe what you're doing. That's very important. You can't just do it as a job. Mm-hmm.
How much longer do you think it will take to finish the entire church?
Yes, thank you. We spoke about that with the Father David. That's a very large space, and we have a small team of only 3 people doing, because, in the old world, like 1,000 years ago in Greece, or 700 years ago in Russia or Serbia or somewhere, there was a big team doing that. That's probably like 20 people are doing those. Somebody, like one master, is just doing the drawings, and after that the whole team are covering. So because it's weather related, they can do it only in the summer, or when it's a daylight, there was no electricity. With the candles, definitely you can't, especially in the winter, do the work. But here we thought, if we break that to the few phases, and the phase, it's like a part. Like, for example, right now we're doing everything inside the altar, on a ceiling, on the walls, and before that we did the eastern wall, like central part of the altar. The biggest phase probably was, by the square footage, the cupola with the pendants with the evangelists. But again, so each phase is take about like 6 months for us to do the work in the studio, and like 2 weeks, few weeks work here. So probably 7 phases. So roughly like about 7 years. Roughly 6 to 7 years. Yes.
So, on the iconostasis, there's I noticed you have the icons, and then there's also a lot of wood carvings. Is that also like a big part of iconography?
Yes, it is. Again, the iconostasis is not ours, as was done before, and beautifully carved. And yes, it is. It's traditionally in Orthodox churches, the iconostasis separate part of the altar, part of the church as the altar and the main church. And that tradition become really established probably by the 7th, 8th century. So before that, the altar was open, like an apse when it was around it, and with the altar table in the center. And the tradition of the having icons of the Christ and Theotokos, and something on top of that, like a little portal, like a little doorway, probably from the 7th century. In the different traditions, it varies up to like really, really high, long iconostasis, completely blocking the altar from the church, like in Russia, up to the 17th century, to like really, really low iconostasis. And if you travel in Europe, you probably remember visiting in Vatican and Rome, or in Italy. They still have iconostasis even in the Catholic churches, like lower, but the same way as we have. And it is a part of the tradition, yes. And all of the beautiful carving, you see a lot of like flowers in there, the motifs in there. And we also have a lot of flowers motif. It's not only decoration, but it's have a meaning of the beauty of heaven. Sort of like divine beauty. And for people, like flowers was always something nice, really nice to have them and look at them. And so the flowers become part of like decorational theme for the Christian iconography.
So is there any time, like periods of times or circumstances where you're not allowed to do iconography?
I tell you true, I don't know, because my teacher, Archimandrit monk, old monk priest, Father Cyprian, who lived 100 years. He was born just in the beginning of the century, in 1900, in St. Petersburg, and he was a monk since 1936, and he died in 2001. And he taught me at the monastery. I worked with him for a few years. He taught me to work on the wall. And I asked him that question. Asked him because we've been working in some churches in New Jersey with him, and there was a services, and there was a great Lent time. and Sundays. So I asked him, Father, how we work on Sunday or during the service, and is it we breaking the commandment of not work and obey the Saturday, not work Sunday? And he told me, no, don't worry about it, because the priests are serving, they're working. So the iconography is part of the service. So after that, I decide, there's no really stopping you by timing. Can you pass, please?
How long did it take you to paint all that?
What we did?
What? How long did it take you?
What we did?
Yeah, how long? Yeah.
As you probably noticed, we're working here the third year, 3 years. And not exactly full time, because I have also some smaller projects which are doing in between also, but it's, again, as I'm mentioning, the main time it's in the studio, it's not here. Here is 2 weeks for 10 days, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. I think we work 3 weeks, close to 3 weeks when we're doing the cupola.
What is it that, in the icon behind you, what is it that St. Michael is holding that looks like a glass ball?
Yes, it's look like a sphere, it's like a glass ball, right? And that called the seal of God. It's Jesus Christos in the Greek letters, which is abbreviation for Jesus Christ, and that's sort of called an iconography. It's called a seal of God or sphere, like holding. It's a symbol of power.
So I noticed the circles with the prophets in them. There are similar circles on the wall. So what would go in those circles?
Great, as we're going to do it today, by the way, because these circles are medallions. We call medallions, okay? They are ornamental, again, around these flowers, and in there some sort of traditional ornamentations, which we'd like to repeat in the altar, so tie the whole thing artistically together. As you mentioned, we're using the same colors, the same themes. It's when you look at the church and doing the project, you'd like to have it artistically nice. Like, for example, if you're wearing something like blue suit, you're not going to put like really, really bright red pants, or you try to keep it in style. And again, that's why we're keeping it.
But are there any saints that would go in the circles?
Yes, it's going to be Holy Fathers, the hierarchs, and again, they're going to be installed today. It's already painted, and actually I can show you right here what the canvas looked before installation, okay? Do you mind? If you hold it. Going to be inside. They pre-measured and ready to go over there, which I hope will do it today. We need to roll. Thank you. Yes.
So, is the gold behind the evangelists, is it real gold leaf?
Yes, it is a real gold leaf. It's not a paint. It's a metal. And again, it was done a traditional way, as a gilding. So I was lucky to see the whole process. The best gold traditionally made in Italy or in Germany. And a few years ago, I was at the factory, and my friend, who was a manager of the factory, showed me the whole process. They took the real gold nuggets, quite heavy, like pieces, and they're melting them. They're melting them into sort of like long, like briquette. And after that briquette, they start putting between very heavy metal rounds, like cylinders, and making them thinner, thinner, thinner. So they're putting them many, many times. And that metal become like really, really long, like a belt. Long, thin line. They cut each piece, like small, and put under the pressing machine, which is a very heavy beating it, and making it thinner, 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 and at the same time bigger. When it's really, really thin, they cut it in the little squares, and they're putting separate in the box. And that way was done like 3,000 years ago. But instead of like heavy machines doing that, people are doing that on cutted wood. They're putting like really, really fine, like strong leather, skin of ox. And with the wooden hammers, also with the skin, they're beating it by hand and making it thinner, 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 so it can be applied. Yes. Okay, and we need to get back to work.
Oh, sorry, I have to remember. How do you adhere the canvas to the wall?
We're putting canvas into the wall with a very special adhesive. Here it is. Wow, it's really heavy. Anyway, that is adhesive for the carpets or linoleum, like tiles, with the spatula, with the teeth. You probably noticed like somebody doing home repair, putting that like carpets with that glue. It's a very, very strong glue, which we hope going to stay, if not forever, for very, very long. Forever is like a strong word. Okay. Oh no, please, no, that's not. Thank you very much to be involved with that, and you're going to grow up in this parish. You're going to bring your own kids, and they're going to tell them, "Oh, so many years ago, this guy's dead long time ago." But you see the we've been seeing putting iconography in the walls, so the historical moment. Okay, thank you.